So now to finish our spirit animal. We've painted, we've colored, it's all set. Next part, we are going to actually cut it out. Now it needs to be dry to do this, so if you finish today, put it in the drying rack, wait till next week. If you are ready, you're going to trim around your animal. As you can see, I'm leaving a little bit of a white kind of halo around it, a little white border. Cutting pieces of my watercolor paper off at a time to make it easier so I can kind of work my way in from all of the edges of the paper and cut out my animal really well. Now obviously some animals are going to be a lot easier to cut than others. Some will have a nice zigzags that you have a lot of cutting to do. So just take your time, and you've spent all of this effort on the actual drawing and the coloring and the painting of this. You might as well finish it strong. So I'm just going to get rid of some of these scraps, and I can keep going. As I cut, I want to trim it just a little at a time. I can always go back and trim more. It's really hard to add stuff back on. So once I have it cut out, I'm happy with it. I'm actually going to put that to the side, and I'm going to choose a background color and a brown piece of craft paper that I think will look good with my animal. I want to trim my brown craft paper down so it fits just inside of the edges of my colorful paper, which will really just act as a border in the end. Place this down, see how it looks. Give it a little bit more of a trim until it fits on there. It has a nice wavy edge. This is our leather or our animal hide. Then I'm going to crumple it up into a ball. Hand to hand, make sure it's nice and crumpled. And then I'm going to open it back up and smooth it out. Gives a nice texture. Smooth that out, and I'm going to grab my Elmer's glue. Open it up. Pick off that dried glue from last time. Now, normally I say just a dot, not a lot. Not with this. It's textured and I want to get it to stick. So I'm going to be pretty generous. I go around the edge, a couple of X's down the middle. It's not a ton, but it's enough. Flip it over and really, really kind of rub it down from the center out to the edges. Has that texture, but it's also smoothing. Give it a few pats, smooth it, and I'm good. Now I'm going to be also pretty generous with the glue on my animal. I don't want these falling off. So lines of glue around all of my edges, a little bit down the center, and again we're going to glue that on. Now with this, you don't want to rub it down. It's oil pastel and watercolor and all that. So if I rub it, it's going to smudge. So I'm just going to pat it a few times, and I'm actually going to flip it over and rub it from this side. That way my hands stay clean, I don't ruin my artwork, and I really get it kind of stuck down on my art. Looks really nice so far, I'll show you. Great. In the meantime, I want to let this dry, so I'm going to put my scissors and my glue on top of it so it has a little weight, and put it to the side. Now I'm going to pick a name tag color that I want to use. I'm also going to think of my spirit animal name. I want some sort of adjective and my animal name that describes me. I usually go with a strong personality trait that I really feel I share with that animal. I'm of course going to start to draw in pencil first, always. And I want to think about my letters. Do I want to do block letters or bubble letters? Do I want to kind of make up my own font? I want this to be neat. It's kind of like the title of our piece, right? It's the reason we chose this animal from the beginning. We did a writing piece about it in ELA. So I want it to be a focal point that supports my animal. So I'm going to go with graceful deer. And while I'm drawing and I'm making up these letters, I'm thinking about my spacing and the size because I want everything to fit on this name tag. Now, of course, if I write in pencil, I can erase and make things smaller if I need to, or if I need to put in a letter. If you need help with spelling, please ask. Okay? Once I'm happy with it in pencil, I'm going to go over it in Sharpie. Now again, with the Sharpie, I want to trace over my lines carefully. If you miss a line, it's fine. You can erase the pencil lines, but the Sharpie is there for good. So I really want to make sure I have nice, crisp, clean lines. If you come across a dried out Sharpie, as I always say, please throw it away so that I know it's dead and I can put out some new Sharpies that will give you nice lines. As I'm working, I'm realizing that maybe I want my letters to be a little bit bolder. So I'm actually going to go back and add more detail to these after I've kind of got through my first run. But I did make it a little bit thicker where I missed my lines, and I just kind of thickened those lines with an extra swipe of the Sharpie. Instead, to make it more interesting, I'm actually going to add some additional curves and leave a little negative space in between. So I'm going to do that to each of my letters. I think that'll look really interesting. Just a little, not too much. I'm kind of happy with that look. When I get to the word deer, though, I want to remember that there was an E and an R in graceful, so I'm going to copy the strokes of my marker that I had made there so that they match in the same letters. Here we go. For this, we're actually just going to staple it on the bottom. The only kind of weird thing about cutting out our animal and adding it is it has that flat edge where the animal was cut off because we didn't draw their bodies. So if I add my name tag to the bottom of my animal, and I just add a staple on this side and a staple on the other, it'll make it look complete. The staplers are up by my desk. You can flip over your paper, write your name, teacher, and table number on the back, and you are done.